If you're stressed right now, whether it's work, money, or anything else going on in your life, your brain, at this exact moment, is quietly changing shape. This isn't an exaggeration. It literally happens. Stress isn't just a feeling, it's a biological process that physically alters the structure of your brain. And here's the most surprising part. It happens so quietly that most people write it off as just being tired or being in a bad mood, when something much deeper is actually going on underneath. Today, we're going to look at exactly what happens inside your brain when stress becomes constant, day after day, week after week, month after month, and eventually, year after year. And at the end, I'll share something genuinely hopeful, because whatever damage happens can, to a real degree, be reversed. Let's get started. First, let's clear up a common misconception. A lot of people think stress is purely a mindset thing, that if you just think positive or stop worrying so much, everything will be fine. But the reality is that stress is a full biological chain reaction, involving hormones, brain structures, and your entire nervous system. In modern life, especially in places where hustle culture treats being constantly busy as a badge of honor, stress isn't rare or occasional anymore. It's become a daily baseline. And that normalization might be the most dangerous part of all, because when something feels normal, people stop taking it seriously. Let's understand a bit of the science first, so what follows actually makes sense. When your brain perceives a threat or pressure, whether it's a real danger like a car accident or something as simple as a stressful email, a small part of your brain called the amygdala activates almost instantly. The amygdala is your brain's alarm system. Its job is to detect danger and trigger an immediate response. The amygdala immediately signals the hypothalamus, which kicks off a chain reaction known as the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal glands. Together, these three release a hormone called cortisol, commonly known as the stress hormone. Cortisol prepares your body for immediate action. Your heart rate increases, blood pressure rises, your muscles get more blood flow, and energy becomes instantly available. This is the classic fight or flight response, the same system your ancestors relied on to survive predators. This system is evolutionarily brilliant, but it comes with one major flaw. Your body was designed for threats from tens of thousands of years ago, like facing down a lion. Back then, the stress response activated for a few minutes, the danger passed, and the body returned to baseline. But today's stressors, a difficult boss, financial pressure, an endless stream of notifications, don't just go away. They persist for days, weeks, months. And that's exactly where cortisol, originally a helpful survival tool, quietly turns into something closer to a slow poison. Now let's walk through what happens to your brain over time. In the first few minutes, during acute stress, a sudden bad email, an unexpected deadline, the amygdala activates, cortisol is released, and you feel instantly alert. This is normal, and it's actually useful in small doses. It helps you focus and take quick action. Within the first few hours, if the stressor passes, cortisol levels return to normal and your brain recovers fully. This is acute stress, and on its own, it's not a real problem for your body. But if stress continues day after day, through the first week, cortisol levels start staying elevated consistently. At this stage, sleep becomes disrupted, because cortisol and melatonin, your sleep hormone, work in opposition to each other. Concentration also starts slipping, because the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and focus, can't function properly under sustained high cortisol. By the second week, your immune system starts weakening too. This is exactly why people tend to get sick more often during stressful periods: colds, flu, minor infections. Cortisol suppresses immune cell activity because your body is redirecting its energy towards survival mode instead of immune defense. By the third week, memory starts being affected. A part of the brain called the hippocampus I, responsible for forming memories and learning, is extremely sensitive to cortisol. Under sustained stress, hippocampal neurons start struggling, and forming new memories becomes harder. This is exactly why people going through stressful periods often say, "I just can't remember anything anymore." After about a month of continuous stress, something deeper starts happening. The amygdala, your brain's threat detector, actually starts growing in size. That means your brain begins interpreting even small, everyday things as threats that it used to consider completely normal. This is exactly why people under chronic stress start overreacting to minor things or feel constantly on edge. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking and impulse control, starts weakening, and its connection to the amygdala gets weaker, too. In other words, the emotional part of your brain becomes more powerful while the rational part loses its ability to keep it in check. This is why people under chronic stress often become more emotional, impulsive, or irritable. It's not a character flaw. It's a temporary shift in how the brain is actually wired. After 2 to 3 months of sustained stress, actual structural changes begin in the hippocampus. Studies have shown that chronic stress can reduce hippocampal volume, meaning the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning can literally begin to shrink. At the same time, the process of forming new neurons, called neurogenesis, slows down significantly. Between 6 months and a year of ongoing stress, it starts affecting your brain's entire wiring. Sleep patterns remain disrupted, which further damages the brain, since sleep is exactly when the brain repairs itself. The risk of anxiety and depression also rises significantly at this stage, because the amygdala has become overactive and the prefrontal cortex has lost much of its ability to regulate it. By this point, other systems in the body are affected too. The risk of heart disease increases, blood pressure can stay elevated, digestive issues can develop, and weight can shift as well, since cortisol also affects appetite and fat storage, particularly around the abdomen. After a year or more of sustained stress, these brain changes can become deeply embedded. But, and this is genuinely important, they are not permanent. Hold on for a second. Before we move forward, there are a few important myths we need to clear up. Myth number 1. Stress is always bad. That's not accurate. A small amount of acute stress, known as eustress, is actually beneficial. It motivates you, sharpens your focus, and can improve performance. The problem isn't stress itself. The problem is stress that never lets up, that never gets a break. Myth number 2. If I'm mentally strong, stress won't affect me. This is also false. The effects of stress aren't about willpower or mental toughness. This is a biological process that happens in every human brain, regardless of how strong someone is. Managing it isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of self-awareness. Myth number 3. Stress only affects mental health, not physical health. As we just covered, stress affects your heart, your immune system, your digestion, and even your weight. The brain and body aren't separate systems. They're one connected system. All right, now let's get back to what I promised at the beginning. Here's the part that offers real hope. The brain has a remarkable property called neuroplasticity, meaning it can rewire itself, even after significant damage. Studies have shown that when people reduce their chronic stress, whether through therapy, exercise, or lifestyle changes, hippocampal volume can actually grow back, and amygdala overactivity can decrease over time as well. In other words, everything we just discussed in this video isn't a permanent sentence. Your brain has the built-in ability to heal, rebuild, and return to balance. That's genuinely one of the most hopeful facts in all of biology. So the real question is, if you want to actually manage your stress, where do you start? Step 1. Make sleep a priority. Sleep is when your brain repairs itself, and it's when cortisol levels naturally drop. If sleep isn't right, everything else becomes far less effective. Step 2. Get regular physical activity, even something as simple as walking. Exercise helps process cortisol and actively boosts neurogenesis, literally reversing the exact process that stress causes. Step 3. Identify your specific stressors and set boundaries wherever you can. Not all stress can be eliminated, but a lot of it, overcommitment and inability to say no, can genuinely be reduced. Step 4. Don't underestimate social connection. People who share their stress with someone, a friend, family, or a therapist, show a measurably lower cortisol response than people who carry it entirely alone. Step 5. Try breathing exercises or mindfulness. It's not a magic fix, but research shows that slow, deep breathing can directly reduce amygdala activation in real time. Step 6. If stress is genuinely interfering with your daily life, talking to a mental health professional isn't weakness. It's exactly the same kind of good sense as seeing a doctor for a physical health issue. Remember, the goal was never to eliminate stress completely, because a certain amount of stress is a normal, even useful part of life. The real goal is breaking the pattern of nonstop, uninterrupted stress, so your brain actually gets the chance to recover. So that was it. What chronic stress actually does to your brain. From the first few minutes to years down the line, and why it's not just in your head, it genuinely reshapes your brain's actual structure. But remember the most important part. These changes are reversible. Your brain's ability to heal itself never fully goes away. If you found this video useful, subscribe to Dr. Sarah Mitchell and let me know in the comments. Do you think you're dealing with chronic stress right now? In the next video, we'll explore another equally important question. Until then, take care of yourself.